Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I want to answer a very common viewer question, which is, Nick, what was your favorite knife of 2017? Great question, and I think I actually have an answer. It took a lot of contemplating. I have seriously been thinking about the answer to this question for like 2 months now, and have had things jumbled up a little bit with some new releases, but nonetheless, I'm going to try and answer that. And I'm going to do two things here as kind of ground rules. First off, any knife that was not released in 2017 is not eligible, even if I reviewed it in 2017. So knives like the North Arm Skaha, which absolutely would have been a contender here, this was released in 2016. The Grimsmo Rask and the Koenig Arius is similarly released in well, actually, the Arius was before that, but they're not eligible because they weren't released in 2017. I'm limiting it to knives that first landed in 2017, just to be fair to people and whatnot. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to break this into three categories, roughly by price. There's going to be the budget category, which is under $100. There's going to be the mid-range, which is $100 to $300, although that's a pretty high mid-range, let's be real here. And then there is anything goes territory, which is, above 300. And I'm going to declare a winner at each, and then finally I'm going to tell you which knife that I personally found best, even though I'm not necessarily going to say it's the best knife for everybody. So anyways, let's go ahead and jump into it and start off by talking about the winner in the budget category. Okay, so in the budget side, first off, alphabetically of the three finalists, because I've narrowed each category down to three, first off is the CRKT Pilar, I guess. This is a Jesper Voxnaes design, and it is a very nice little knife in a lot of ways. The design on it is truly its biggest strength. It is ergonomic. It has there's a lot of joy to it as well, and the price point is also the lowest of any of the knives I'm going to have in the budget section. So the CRKT Pilar absolutely, although it was a late comer to the scene, absolutely earned its way here. Second, alphabetically speaking, is this little guy. This is the Kershaw Dividend. And this is an inexpensive little American-made flipper knife, and it's a liner lock with an assist in there, a reasonable steel, very thin cutting edge. There is a lot of joy to the Kershaw Dividend here. Then finally is this little guy. This is the steel wheel Cutjack. I've got the 3-inch version here, but it's basically the same as the 3.5, just a little bit smaller, and actually fixing a couple of the issues. But anyways, the Cutjack is an unassisted flipper knife in D2 steel with just a great action. There is a lot to love about your steel wheel Cutjack down here. And so these three were very immediately my finalists. However, the choice here eventually was pretty clear. The Pilar, although it's a great knife, is unfortunately a knife that was a little bit underdone in my opinion. CRKT did a great job making this design come to life at a cheap price point, but I think they went a little too cheap, and it shows in steel and some of the material choices, and so unfortunately I think this knife just priced itself a little bit too low. A second version of this with mid-range materials will be absolutely great, but that, to me, took it out of running for the grand prize, so to speak. The Kershaw Dividend is another knife that is very good, but for me, ultimately, I don't love the assist. And the fact that, you have to put up with the assist in this knife is something that is, well, at least for me, it's a downside. Some people like it, but it's enough of an issue that, particularly when there is a third option, which gives you the same really excellent, very reliable action, with an even better steel and no assist, the Dividend unfortunately fell out of it. Mind you, it's still a gem, but at the same time, the steel wheel, for me at least in the budget category, was the very clear winner. This is an incredible budget knife, offering great steel, great action, great unassisted action, and ergonomics that are really good as well, all at a price point that is absolutely spectacular. This is a great budget knife, and in terms of 2017 releases, is absolutely the best budget knife that's come along this year. Let's talk about the mid-range. Okay, so on the mid-range side, first off, the honorable mention here is this little guy. This is the Spyderco Delica with the Packer Wood and Hap 40 steel. This is a new release for 2017. It was a Knife Center exclusive. It is absolutely the best Delica ever, in my opinion, but it is also another Spyderco Delica, so I can't quite in good faith put it into the contest here, because I know I like the Delica. So I'm going to exclude this guy, but it is absolutely one of the best knives of the year, 100% in that mid-range. Next thing is this little guy right here. This is the Booz Blade Smoke. Pardon me. The Smoke is, well, it is a knife that a lot of people have fallen in love with. And it's pretty understandable why. You get, for a reasonable price, about $200, you get a very nice blade steel, you get a very nice blade, you get a unique front flipping action, which is excellent. You get a design that is just incredible. I mean, Booz makes knives that just look really, really fast, even when they're sitting still on tables. And there is a lot to love about the smoke. He's done a couple of runs of them now, and they all sell out very, very quickly. There may still be spots available by the time this films, I don't know, but maybe not. But either way, the moment I got this guy, it was like, holy crap, this is different, and it's new, and it's awesome. And it very quickly earned its way onto my Knives of the Year finalist list. Next one is this little guy. This is the Kizer Knives TI. T1, that is. The T1 is an Uli Henneke design, and what makes this guy amazing is actually, it's a great tool. It has a very nice thin behind-the-edge blade, which is great. It's S35VN, which is great. The price is absolutely right. The action on it, it's a thumb stud knife that's running on bearings, and so it's super satisfying to use, and ergonomically speaking, it's pretty damn good too. And so the T1, that is absolutely a solid contender for Knife of the Year. Then the last one was a late-breaking entry, but once I handled it and once I fell in love, it became pretty clear, and that's this guy right here. This is the Spyderco Shaman. This is a knife that is deeply not a Nick Shabazz knife. It's a little big, it's beefy, it's a little bit crazy, but at the same time, once I got it in hand, once I started using it as a cutting tool, I realized that they have a absolute huge hit on their hands here, because they're combining great steel, great ergonomics with this contoured handle, just fits so well in the hand, the great compression lock on there, as well as the Spyderco Golden build quality. This is an incredible freaking knife. And so, very, very easily, this won a spot in my collection, and that was not something I expected whatsoever. And so these are your three finalists, the Smoke, the T1, and the Shaman. First one I can take off the table is the T1 here. Not actually because of the knife itself. This is a very, very nice knife, but unfortunately Kizer had a bit of a rough year, with the Feist issue being a major kind of embarrassing egg on the face moment. And I would struggle a little bit to give Knife of the Year to a company that went ahead and did that. That was a major problem, and so it leaves me with enough question marks involved that I don't know that I can go there. This is a very good knife. This is the best thing Kizer makes right now, and they are still a good company, but they're going to need to earn things back a little bit, I think, before I'm willing to go that far. Next thing is, unfortunately, I have to take the Booz Smoke off the table, making Shaman the winner in the mid-range category here. The reason I'm doing that is just because this is going to be a more situational knife, I think. The Smoke is an incredible freaking knife, but it is a long, thin front flipper. This is like a folding steak knife sort of thing. That is great. It's something I love. It's really carryable, but it isn't going to be for a lot of people. And so, unfortunately, I feel like this is maybe a little bit more situational, and as a result, just barely is edged out by the Shaman. This was not an easy call, I'll say that. But yeah, so this is still absolutely a wonderful knife, but ultimately in the mid-range category for me, the Spyderco Shaman actually picks it up. This is just so damn good, and it replaces, at least in my heart and mind, a number of stalwarts in the Spyderco lineup. I wouldn't, why would you do a PM2 with this thing in existence? Although weight is definitely a factor there. But for me, at least, this beats out the PM2, it beats out the Mannix 2. This is just such a damn good knife. And so, for me, once I had this and once I'd truly fallen in love, this did become the winner. And so, that is the winner in the mid-range category, the Spyderco Shaman. Let's talk about the high end. Okay, so on the high end, first off, two honorable mentions. The first is actually the Southern Knives Mini Toll. This is a great knife, 100%. However, it is just barely available. He is making them only in small amounts, and they are just only now starting to get out to people. It is a knife that is technically released, but not really. And so as a result, I'm going to go ahead and take that one out of the running. The other honorable mention is the Benchmade Anthem. I no longer have my Anthem, and but it is a great, great knife. And in fact, if I could do a top four, the Anthem would be in fourth place. Absolutely 100%. It is a wonderful knife, but just not quite wonderful enough to stick around. And so, at least to me, those are the two honorable mentions. As for the finalists, well, the first finalist, alphabetically speaking, is going to be the Olamic Busker. I hope I did the alphabetization right there. This is a knife that came late in 2017, but absolutely blew me away. Olamic has really knocked it out of the park again with this guy. They do great work, and this is just a beautifully unique knife with a bunch of different opening mechanisms. It's a great little size, offering something beautiful and compelling at a small size. There is so much to love about your Busker here. I am absolutely over the moon with this guy, and so it is clearly a good contender. The next one is the Millit Knives Torrent here. This is a great little knife, and particularly with the Damasteel on there, which just looks gorgeous, and the design on the whole is just really, really well thought out. There is a lot of joy to be found in the Torrent here, and so I very, very much enjoy this knife, and it surprisingly really won my heart. And so the Torrent is absolutely another finalist here. The final finalist is actually no longer on my table, so I've gone the low-budget route here. And that is this little guy. This is the TAD Dauntless Hawk Mid-Tech. It's an awkward phrasing for it, but this is a really, really impressive knife in a couple of ways. The action on it was phenomenal, off the freaking charts. Using the toggle detent and the hawk lock, you had an absolutely swing shot action, along with an incredibly just wonderful detent on it. This is a really, really incredible knife, and the fact that it was built on a platform, the TAD Dauntless platform, which was good but needed a little improvement, and this did all the improvement. They basically took an existing gem and made it even better, adding in a really unique lock and a second-to-none great action. So, for me at least, that was a very, this one, you know, I got it in hands like, holy crap, this is a knife of the year sort of material. And so, the Hawk Dauntless is absolutely our third finalist. In terms of the actual choices here, the first one I have to take back off the table actually is the Hawk Dauntless. And the reason I'm taking it off the table is because, well, you can't freaking get them. TAD has apparently made relatively few of them. They don't tell you when they're going to drop them again. This is a knife that I'm kind of recommending into the void. Nobody can freaking get a hold of any of them, so that makes it really, really hard. They've done a couple of drops now, I think, maybe. They don't advertise when they do the drops, but that's something that makes this a little bit more difficult to recommend, and, you know, it makes it, I don't know, that adds some unpleasantness to it. This is a great knife, and but it ultimately is not a great knife that stuck around in my collection, but he made me an offer I couldn't refuse, so to speak, and, you know, ultimately, you can't get them, so that makes it hard. These two knives are what's left behind here, the Busker and the Torrent. The next one I have to take off the table is actually the Torrent. Now, that said, it's coming off for one very specific reason, and that is that this is a version 1 version of the Torrent here, and it has a couple of small issues. It's got a little tiny bit of detent rock, and it's got a flipper tab that is adequate, but not quite ideal. They are fixing these issues in the version 2 of this knife, and I will absolutely be buying a version 2 of this knife. Had they released those fixes with version 1, this would be absolutely a neck-and-neck sort of thing, because this is an absolutely wonderful knife, and it is a knife that is absolutely staying around in my collection here. But that said, with the issues the version 1 came out with, it didn't quite clear the bar. But it is 100% a great knife, and if it were eligible, it could well be the knife of next year. But it came out in 2017, and that leaves behind the winner here, which is the Olamic Busker. This is just so damn unique. It's so damn well done, and it's something that the world needs more of. Small, high-end knives with absolutely great accents, and Olamic is a company that just keeps impressing me, 100%. And so this ended up being the winner on the high end, the Olamic Busker. So let's talk about the final conclusion and my choice of the one knife of the year among the 3 remaining. So, 9 knives, 3 categories, 3 winners. But first, a program note. If you are a maker and you are seeing your knife on the table here, you should be really, really proud. Even the knives that didn't win are really incredible. And if you are a viewer and you're thinking down the road, if you're ever going to send me an email, Nick, should I pick up the blah? And it's one of the ones on the table. The answer to this is yes, you should. Every one of these knives I can wholly recommend without reservation. They are really great pieces, and every one of these is just incredible. And in fact, several of them are going to be sticking around. These 4, at the very least, are going to be sticking around in my permanent collection. They are just so damn good that I have just fallen in love. But the thing is, it is human nature to want not just a nice video grouping, but an actual winner. And so it's time to make that final decision. Among our 3 winners for each category, we have the Steel Wheel Cutjack, the Spyderco Shaman, and the Olamic Busker. For me, this choice was actually easier than I expected it to be. The Cutjack is a great knife, 100%, but it is a great budget knife. If you want a knife for 40 or 45 bucks, this is probably the best choice that you've got right now. That said, if you want to pay more money, this no longer becomes the good choice. There are other knives that do what the Cutjack is doing, just a little bit better once you start paying more money for them. And in fact, the world of, flipper knives is, it's a wide one. And so, although I love the Cutjack, and it is a great budget piece, and it is the budget piece of the year, it's not the best knife of the year. Very much so. That leaves us with these two, the Busker and the Shaman. Ultimately, for me, the distinction came down to kind of the uniqueness here. The Shaman is an absolutely spectacular knife, and it is the top of the line in a category. That category, at least for me, is like a harder use sort of blade. This is the very best beatery sort of big blade that's out there, and it bests a lot of the well-known competition. Knives like the Spyderco PM2, Shaman's better. Mannix 2, Shaman's better. The ZTO 562CF, Shaman better. 566, Shaman's better. There were a lot of knives in that category that the Shaman is the best of, in my estimation. But it is an existing category. There have been many knives like the Shaman in that sort of world, and there will continue to be in the future. But the Busker, on the other hand, is a unique little thing. There are not knives out there that are like the Busker. There aren't many small high-end knives to start with, but small high-end knives with this kind of finishing. Very unusual. Small high-end knives with this kind of versatility of opening, where you can do about a bazillion things to open this knife, absolutely unheard of. And frankly, there's just nothing out there this year, or frankly the years before, that looks anything like this. This is just its own unique little beast. And so that uniqueness, the fact that not only is this an incredible knife, but it's an incredible knife doing something that's just weird and different. I mean, this is maybe a small gentleman's folder. That's about as close as I can come to a category for it. It's a thing. It's a unique thing. And that uniqueness, ultimately, is why I have chosen the Olamic Busker here as being 2017's Knife of the Year. It is not only the best knife I think that's come out, but it's the weirdest knife. It's the knife that made me go, wait a second, this is something a knife can do. And that to me is absolutely a source of joy, and made this a very, very easy choice as I was writing the review for this guy. It's just like, oh wow, yeah, this wins, doesn't it? And that's absolutely great. It's worth highlighting that actually Olamic won the best of the year last year with the Wayfarer 247, and so they're having a good streak here. They're a knife maker to watch, one of the best right now working. But this is just absolutely a stellar piece among all of these stellar pieces. And if you're even remotely considering if a knife that this size makes sense to you, then you should absolutely 100% pick one of these little guys up. So there you go. That's your Knife of the Year, Olamic Busker. Congratulations, Olamic. Good job, guys. Keep it freaking going. But everybody else who was on the table, good job to you too. And who knows what's coming for 2018? Maybe you'll show up here at the end of that year. Anyways, hope this has been interesting. Have yourselves a good one. Bye now.